It's Wednesday, the 3rd of July, 2024. Welcome to the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed, where we give you the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
Sean, 5 big stories to get through in 5 minutes, so let's get cracking. Story number 1, the Reserve Bank has warned that further delays in reducing inflation could spark an interest rate hike in August because the central bank fears embedding higher price expectations.
In the Reserve Bank Board's minutes of its meetings from 2 weeks ago, which were released yesterday, the bank said its forecast for inflation to return to the midpoint of the target band by mid-2026 is at risk. Pushing out the timeline carries the potential for embedding higher inflation expectations, and that ain't acceptable to the board. And I quote, members acknowledged if inflation expectations were to rise materially from current levels, it could require significantly higher interest rates to bring inflation back to target. The board said the limited inflation data since the previous meeting had increased the risk that getting inflation lower would take more time. The really important data point, though, comes at the end of this month when we get June quarter inflation numbers. They are much more comprehensive than what we've had so far.
Sean, it really looks like it could be a line ball decision.
Yeah, much more than many people realise. The inflation numbers this month really are critical. The Reserve Bank Board also talked about what was happening with consumption. Consumer spending seems to be higher than previously expected. Global economy is slowly improving. Business conditions are stable. Put all that together, well, that adds to the argument to lift interest rates. However, the board said the economy is broadly tracking on a path consistent with returning inflation to target in 2026. Good news there, while preserving a lot of employment gains. Let's hope so. The bottom line is there's no certainty about which way the next move in rates is.
Okay, on to story number 2. Now, the government's proposal to phase out live sheep exports passed the Senate on Monday night.
And that triggered a ferocious response from some farming groups who have vowed to campaign in Labor-held seats in Western Australia. The National Farmers Federation accused the government of selling out farmers for political gain after the industry had made significant investments to address animal welfare concerns. Live sheep exports, the problems with that has always been about animal welfare. The industry is worth about $77 million. The decision directly affects farmers, shearers and transport operators, think truckies, people like that. Now, Nationals leader David Littleproud came out after it passed the Senate. He's against the ban, not surprisingly. He said if elected, the coalition will reinstate live exports.
On to story number 3. ANZ Bank, Sean, has been criticised for charging fees to dead customers in an example of, quote, serious and systemic misconduct, according to the committee that oversees the banking industry's code of practice.
ANZ was sanctioned by the Banking Code Compliance Committee yesterday for failing to stop or refund fees charged to deceased estates as recently as last year, according to a report in the Financial Review. The banks paid remediation of $3.2 million to almost 19,000 estates, but told the committee that 90% of cases involved fees and charges not prohibited by the code. The committee then went back to them and said that means 10% do relate to fees prohibited under the code. That is still far too high a level, considered a serious breach. Banking Code Compliance Committee Chair Ian Govey said the significance of the deficiencies in ANZ's compliance frameworks was deeply concerning.
Story number 4 is a hugely significant one. Donald Trump has won substantial immunity from official acts taken as president after the majority Conservatives on the Supreme Court ruled that presidents and ex-presidents cannot be charged for things they do as part of their core duties.
Yes, they can, however, be charged for their private conduct. The 6-3 decision was made along ideological lines, with the minority Liberal judges releasing a ferocious alternate judgment. The decision pretty much ends any chance of the former president being tried before the November election. The ruling says the president or ex-president is, and I quote here, entitled to at least presumptive immunity from prosecution for all his official acts, end quote. The minority decision says that under the ruling, the president can order an assassination of a political rival and be immune, or a military coup and still be immune, take a bribe, still be immune. That dissenting view also adds that the decision makes a mockery of the principle that no man is above the law. Trump quickly took to social media saying, all in caps of course, big win for our constitution and democracy, proud to be an American. President Joe Biden said the decision is an abandonment of a core principle of American democracy and will allow Donald Trump self-defining power if he's elected in November. He said Donald Trump will now be free to ignore the law.
Something a little lighter to finish on, Sean. Story number 5, the Boston Celtics, the basketball team that won the NBA title last month, is up for sale with a price tag likely to be around the $5 billion mark.
Well, if you're going to sell, you may as well sell at the top. And the Celtics won last month's NBA, so they're the most successful team in the National Basketball Championship history. The team was purchased for $360 million about 22 years ago by a consortium of wealthy individuals, including venture capitalists and real estate developers. Forbes now values it at $5.7 billion US, according to a report in the Financial Times. The controlling family in the consortium are the Grousbecks, well-known Boston family. The decision to sell, the family said, was made for estate and family planning considerations. That is quite the estate and family planning consideration. Currently, the record for a basketball sale is the Phoenix Suns and its women's NBA sister franchise Mercury. That sold for $4 billion back in 2022.
All right, there we go. The top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It's Wednesday, the 3rd of July, 2024. Remember to hit follow on the podcast. And if 5 minutes isn't enough, you can find our longer daily show called Fear and Greed, wherever you listen to podcasts. Also, head along to fearandgreed.com.au, which is where you can sign up for our free weekly newsletter. It comes out today. And one more thing, how do they afford that? Our sister podcast is out today. It comes out every week, all about making your money go a little bit further. This week, we are talking to a mortgage broker about how to handle a potential interest rate rise. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed. Have a great day.